In this video, I will be showing you pictures of my eye socket with a hole in it, and I will be talking about them. I just want to warn you all, this video will contain images of my eye socket with a hole in it. I should mention that this video is for someone in particular, so I won't be offended if you don't watch it, but that one person, I just want to explain what happened. So when they first took my eye out, they removed all the socket, but they also took like a fleshy bone in between my eye and my nose. So as the hole grew, I was able to breathe through it. Now, everyone's operation is different, so you probably won't have that effect, and that's something to bear in mind, and I'll show you why, but I'll explain it. I don't mind doing a video chat, but you are going to want to look at the pictures, and I thought I'd best explain some of them. It took 14 months between the first hole appearing and it getting bigger to the point where I had surgery. But that's more because everyone was in lockdown during COVID, and a lot of our hospitals were only prioritising active cancer patients. And I didn't have any active cancer. I had a scanner and everything. I was clear. Believe it or not, it actually worked to my advantage. About 6 months after the hole had first appeared, my doctor had found something about a certain vein in the back of your head that can be used for the flap operation. And originally, he was toying with the idea of using fascia, which is like just a little bit of the muscle. He'd then flip it over and put a graft over the top of it. Another option was they could take this part of my forehead, twist it round and down and put it in the eye socket. But about 6 months after the hole first appeared, the doctors found there was this new procedure where they could do the flap using a vein at the back of my head. And because radiation had killed a lot of my blood vessels, it was better to have a non-radiated vein for the best chance of success. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, because I don't want you to think that, you'll just be left with a hole, even though you can be, because apparently when it gets to the full size of the socket, the doctors can do something where it's forever open. But I didn't like that option. And like me, you're still young, and we've got our whole lives to live. And the last thing you want is a big gaping hole in your eye socket. In this picture, this is when I noticed the hole had appeared. And you will find that quite a lot of my pictures are in black and white. And that's because a load of social media used to say against community guidelines. Even though there are some pictures on my TikTok and Instagram, quite a lot got taken down by community guidelines violations. I even had one video that was taken down because of the sexual content, and it wasn't sexual at all, but I was trying to show how my nose was connected to my eye and how I could breathe through the hole, and they thought it was a sexual video. Now in this picture, this is before I had the hole. You can see all the veins, and I didn't realise that this is actually a sign that radiation is killing the blood vessels. And that's why the hole appears, because fresh blood can't get to that area. So naturally, the body just opens it up. Now, this did happen 18 months after I had radiation. Before I had the flap, it was just my eyelids sewn together. So I guess it was really thin skin to start with. The hole grew quite steadily. I was actually quite surprised. It didn't just go from being a little hole to instantly as big as it could be. It gradually opened, and during this time, I never had any headaches or migraines. I did worry it would be painful, but thankfully it wasn't. Whether or not that was because I was numb in that area generally, I'm not sure. As the hole gets bigger and bigger, you can see that the mucus that was in my nose goes to my eye socket. So pretty much for the whole time I had the hole, nothing at all came out of my nose. It all came out of the hole. For both sides of my nose as well, it all came out of my eye socket hole. Because it was connected to my airways, I used to put a plaster over it, and that was fine. I'd say for about 4 to 5 months after the initial hole appeared, but then it got so big that because I was breathing through it, if I put a plaster on, it would instantly blow it off. I did actually try one of the Capri Sun straws, put it under the plaster to make sure the air could still flow through, but again, over time, the air was just too much. And because it was connected to my throat, I'd often feel like I was being suffocated when it was covered. And that's when I stopped wearing plasters, because I was wasting 3 or 4 a day just by blowing them off. If it wasn't the fact that the air blew them off, there was also the moisture of me breathing, and that would gather up in the eye socket and it would soak the stickiness of the plaster, so I stopped wearing them then. And this video actually went viral on TikTok, and then I was known as the girl that blows bubbles out of her eye. But I just wanted to show how my eye was connected to my airways. By the time I had this flap operation, the hole was quite big. You could probably fit a 25-cent piece into it. I do have a video of me with a butterfly on my nose. Every year we have some and they crystallise, and my daughter then sets them free on the garden. And this particular butterfly would not leave for about 4 weeks. And then one day I was just out in the garden and it flew and sat on my nose. And I thought, this is a great picture to show how big the hole is getting. One thing I didn't realise with the eye being connected to my airwaves was that the eye leaked. So everything that should have been blown out my nose came out my eye socket, and it all built up and built up. And at night, it would all leak out. I would often end up with all this mucus dripping down my face. It sometimes happened in the day, but it was mostly at night. But because I was numb from the surgery, I can't feel to about there. So I didn't know, it could be like dripping out my face, and I wouldn't know until it got right down here. And that kind of put me off going out, because it did it a few times. Because I was struggling to have the plasters on and I needed to go in hospital, and everyone was wearing a mask, and I actually went to the hospital in a big scuba diving headset. Another thing I might also mention is the doctor did say to me I had to do regular testing for COVID. I couldn't have the vaccinations, and I couldn't have COVID about 6 months before my operation. It affects the blood and the way it clots. And because they wanted this flap to work, I had to make sure that my blood was okay, because the new vein needed to take. I've never found anyone with a hole before, and a lot of patients that do have it are older and don't want the hassle of a big operation like the flap. So I hope this video helps, and any questions, please feel free to ask me. Have a look on my TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and the pictures and videos are on there. And there are some others, I'll more than happily explain them. I really wish you the best of luck, and you are doing absolutely wonderful.